Being Broadtail is brought to you by CPJ, distributors of Grey Goose Essences, the Harry J Recording Studio, Broad Axe Communications, 1010 Events and Rentals, and Morgan's Creek. Hey everyone, I'm Dania Beckford. Bold, sometimes brash, and since I'm the CEO of Broadtail Design, I consider myself Broadtail beautiful. It's time we make the conversations we have as women open, honest, and authentic as we navigate living our best lives. Join me as I have intimate conversations with women of all sizes, shapes, and confidence levels as we explore being Broadtail. Welcome to this episode of Being Broadtail. My guest this week spends at least one day each week in our homes, virtually. She bridges the information gap between the deaf community and sometimes the noisy world around them. But even more than that, she advocates confidently for the deaf community, and it has been quite the journey to watch. From when she teach me alpha sign, I'm only know officer, welcome to this episode of Being Broadtail, but we're gonna work it out. This week, she gives us a glimpse into her world and what inspired her to confidently sign her way into all of our lives. Her mother named her Antoinette Aiken, but we call her Toni. Hi, Toni.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
A long time I want to get you into my set, but you know, you've been so busy.
Yes.
But I'm happy that you're here.
Yes.
And our friends from CPJ really hook us up with some Grey Goose strawberry flavored, because this is the Essences line. Mm-hmm. And so, as I've been telling all my guests this season, may I try out the bartender work, and so I pre-prepared some of the things then. Mm-hmm. And it was 1 part Grey Goose strawberry. Mm-hmm. And then I put some strawberries in there. I put some rosemary in there. And then 1.5 part tonic water, 1.5 part soda water. And I've been struggling all season to pour. I got to work on it. But because in Jamaica, you need 10 work. Really, I work on it.
10 work.
10 work you need, man. You need 10 work to thrive.
More than one, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going on too bad, man.
You're not going too bad, though. This one
Thank
is
you.
yours.
Thank
You're
you.
going to tell me if you like it.
Let
We're
me
going to
try.
cheers. Looking at me, yay. Tell me.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all, right?
It might taste too nice. It might want to drink more
You
than...
talk some more than you should have talked. You know?
Yeah.
But I like it. So now, Toni, we met in the circles. We're doing events together. Mm-hmm. You're always there interpreting. Mm-hmm. And I'm there on the PR side. And so over time, we've become real good friends in and out of the work world. Mm-hmm. But let's start from the beginning. You've been signing in your way into our lives, especially during COVID. Mm-hmm. You're not deaf, though.
No.
So how is it you actually got to learn sign language and it became your job?
Well, backtrack. I grew up with deaf parents. Mm-hmm. So I have...
Both of them?
Both.
Okay.
So my mom and my dad and my stepmother, they're all deaf. I also grew up with the deaf community because, of course, my parents would have friends that are deaf. So that's basically where I learned how to communicate. Interpreting, though, was a skill that I developed later in life.
Okay, and how was it for you with deaf parents? Did they intentionally teach you how to sign, or you just picked it up along the way, similar to how regular children would pick it up?
Correct. So, just like how you have a baby and you say, oh, blue, blue. I think being around deaf parents, they can't say blue, so they would definitely sign blue. Mm-hmm. Instead of speaking verbally, everything would have been visual for me. Right. So that is definitely how I would have learned to sign. It wasn't a formal class. It was just being around them, just like how a baby who is around parents who can hear. It's the same thing. No different.
But you're also very eloquent. So I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in a home that signing is the main language, it's a quiet home. Mm-hmm. So how did you balance both being great at signing and both oral communication?
So I have family members, extended, of course. So I have aunts, uncles, my grandparents could hear. Mm-hmm. So I was always the person who bridged the communication gap.
Okay.
So even though my mommy, she has siblings, and my father, their siblings couldn't sign. My grandparents couldn't sign. So in my household, I was always looked upon as, oh, she's so smart, because I was always saying, oh, grandma say, or auntie say, or so that's just was my mode of communication.
Right.
So when I would have to refer back to them, of course, they're hearing me. And I had grandparents who were very strict about speaking patois.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know patois. And bear in mind, that's how they said it.
Right. No patois. Not talk it.
But I had to speak eloquently, because most times I would always be the defender of my parents. So to get people's attention, I thought, okay, if I was just speaking, which I have no problem speaking patois, because I do it every day with my friends. But if I was to speak English, standard English, people would then look on me differently, and in turn look on my parents differently.
You mentioned you've been the defender of your parents. So why were you defending them?
Growing up in Jamaica in the 90s, it's not like it is now. People were not exposed to deaf people. They were not exposed to sign language. So, for example, my parents would be called dumb. They're not dumb. They're just deaf. They're very intelligent people. People would say silly things that I would not repeat. But people would say things, and I would say, no. For example, when them tell my parents dumb, I said, no, you dumb, you know?
For thinking that they're dumb.
For thinking that they're dumb
hear.
because they can't hear. They can communicate. You just can't communicate with them. You're the one with the disability,
right?
Not my parents.
Right.
So I've always been the one advocating, and still now, as an interpreter, you're not supposed to really say anything or advocate in a space. You're actually supposed to be a facilitator of communication. But growing up in the Caribbean, they're not aware of deafness and what it means. So I always have two hats on: advocacy hat, work hat, interpreting hat.
So you mentioned work hat. What did you want to become?
A pilot.
A pilot?
Yes.
But we're interpreting.
Mm-hmm.
How did we transition from wanting to be a pilot to an interpreter?
Lack of resources to continue school. Transition, came back home. My parents, my mom especially.
So you actually started pilot school?
I started.
Okay.
I went to I went to Broad College in Florida. Started. Said, no, I can't afford this. Move on. Did communications for a while. Couldn't afford it. Came back home. When I came back home, fast forward, it's really a little bit more intricate. So I'm going to tell you the truth. My auntie stopped paying my school fee because of my masculine aura.
Okay.
Of who I am, how I present.
Okay.
And she didn't like it.
Okay.
And we're close now. She has passed that. But I'm not going to say it's lack of finances. It's really just how I look. And my family was not pleased.
Okay.
And so...
And how did that make you feel in terms of, wanting to go after a certain dream actually there, and because of how you choose to present physically, you were stopped?
It built my character. At the time, I couldn't see it. And I couldn't understand why these people of so many years, at this time I would have been 16, why they would, it's not like I did change how I dress. I was dressing like this from a child. My parents just allowed me to be me. And I just felt like for my family, it was a struggle. They didn't understand, but they're different now. Thank God for moving to the United States and exposure. But they're different now. And it made me feel like something was wrong with me. And I never felt like I could overcome that, because that was family, right? But it put me in a space where I learned how to be alone, and I learned how to overcome anything that anybody throws at me, because I overcame that.
Right.
So it built my character. So at the time, I would have probably been like, Jano, I hate people, you see? Because if your family do that, you're not going to like anybody.
Right.
But when you go out there and you meet people who say, no, man, be yourself, be you, which is something that I used to get a lot. I still get it, but no, people are like, yo, I'm so proud that you never change,
Right.
it builds your character. It makes you a stronger person. So I'm not upset with my family. I'm not upset with my aunt. I actually appreciate her for what she did because it put me on the path that I am today.
Right. So, and you're like one of the friendliest persons ever. Like, no matter what you present at, when you're in a room with Toni, all of a sudden you and I talk about whole heap of things, you feel like saying no from Bubbles and Click Days. So, fast forward to interpreting. So, you're back here in Jamaica now. What happened?
Came back home. They were like, yo, what you gonna do? You can't sit down.
Because of Jamaica? Yeah, you live with your parents. You can't, it's either you got school or you work, but you're not sit down in Yasso.
You're not doing it. You got to work. So my mom and my dad encouraged me to apply to the Jamaica Association for the Deaf at the time to be their interpreter, their resident interpreter, which would have been communication liaison officer. Applied, got through, started there. Quickly realized that our connections are different. How I would perceive things are different from the JD. So left, moved on, started interpreting for deaf people individually, whether at a hospital, weddings, school, etc., etc. Then started working for Dr. Floyd Morris, who started calling me to do jobs up at the Center for Disability Studies, the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities. Of course, that would open doors because you're talking about different ministries being exposed to something that's new. And it just took off from there. And then in 2013, I got a call to do a pilot project at Parliament, and I've been there ever since.
Yes, and that's how you're in our homes at least one day.
Yes.
At least one day. You do other things, so we see you more, but at least one day we see you at Parliament.
Yes.
So it kind of just mushroomed as you explained it a while ago.
Right.
And it actually brought more eyes to the deaf community. Can you tell me how that has transformed them? Because one of the things I remember is that working with Soca Plus, which is part of the brand of I Love Soca, we had a charity football match. We had a football charity match, and the deaf community had a team, and they were so spirited, and they came second, I believe.
Yes.
And everybody was just like, oh my God, we never know so them could have played so good. I mean, in that, like, would have been an entertainment space. So we're not likely to see them a lot. So when we got to experience them and just how passionate they were about sports, it was an eye-opener for us. So you were there interpreting for them the calls and everything that was happening in the match. So you being there for them in other spaces, how has that opened up opportunities for the community?
Well, when I started almost 20 years ago, so next year will be my 20th year interpreting, right?
Wow.
So when I started almost 20 years ago, nobody never want to learn sign language. What was that? Everybody's learning sign language. I go to the
I want to learn. Me, please.
Everybody's learning sign language. I go to the supermarket and I'm like, oh, I want to show you what I've learned. And that wouldn't have been a thing 20 years ago.
Right.
I think being in the box on the television might seem insignificant, but to me, I was like, people not pay attention, just deaf people, but that's not true.
That's not true.
Children are paying attention, adults are paying attention, and people are learning to communicate. So I feel that bridged the gap for communication for my community.
Right.
And I saw now away because every time I think about it, my parents never had that.
Right.
My parents' friends never had that. But the young deaf community, they go to the supermarket and somebody else say, hi, how are you? That's a thing now.
That's a thing now. And when I go to some places and I'm getting my coffee, I want the person from the deaf community to give me my coffee.
Oh, deaf can coffee.
Even if just say thank you.
Just to say thank
just
you,
to
right?
say thank you. But also, Toni, presenting yourself in an authentic way in the little box on our TV. You are female. Your name is Antoinette. They introduce you sometimes as that. And then persons don't see a very girly girl. And so they think that you're also advocating for something else. How do you balance the boxes that people want to put you in?
So it's kind of cool to grow up in a deaf community because there are no boxes. You're not labeled. That's the first thing.
What does that mean? You're not labeled.
We don't have pronouns then. So this whole big idea about he, she, him, her.
That's not a
they,
thing?
them.
In
No,
sign?
not in sign language.
Wow.
People
so what do you call people?
Their names.
Oh, you just use their names.
So if everybody has a unique sign name, so my name is now which is Toni. My father would be Anthony. My mother would be Keith. My stepmother would be Leslie, and my brother would be Abraham and Andrew. Once that is signed, there's no need for pronouns. Just identify the person by their name. So having that experience and always being allowed to express myself like this as a child, my parents never said, oh, the only time I wore a dress was to the Kingdom Hall to go to the Jehovah's Witnesses meetings. Because my father is an elder. So I used to go to the Kingdom Hall.
My father used to be an elder, and this is something I did not know about you.
Yes, my father is an elder.
I did not know that Toni grew up knowing about Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, yes, definitely. I grew up in the Kingdom Hall. My father, my grandmother, my father's mother is a Jehovah's Witness. And then on my mother's side, they're non-denominational. So I was exposed to religion. And my grandfather was a Rasta.
Okay, so you have everything. You have everything.
Everything.
So my father was an elder. My mother and my sister still goes. All of my life until I was 18 years old and went to UE. I went to Kingdom Hall. I actually credit my confidence to Kingdom Hall because you know, say when you're small, as soon as you can talk, you have to raise up your hand and answer one question in front of everybody.
I agree.
And you have to give talks. Yeah. And also you have to go out there and talk to people about the Bible. And sometimes people are not the nicest.
No, them
so
not
when
the
them
shame
shame me,
face.
I don't shame tree. My shame tree burned down a long time because I've had to deal with it.
I agree.
So, okay, so continue.
Okay, so after growing up in the Kingdom Hall, as you said, that teaches you confidence on a different level. It teaches you how to accept rejection on a different level. After going through that and growing up in a deaf community, that's very blunt. So I've always been a plump kid, fat kid, still fat now. And listen, I said, Toni, why you so fat?
Them sign it?
Yeah, you say, fat man, and you're pretty when I'm fat. You got dead, you're hot.
They say
And you have that experience. Dressing like this, I'm okay because nobody can dull me or say, I remember, I'll give you a joke. When I just started Parliament, a media man, I shall not call his name, said to me that I did not dress appropriately as a female coming into the Parliament.
Okay.
And I should wear dresses or skirts. And I look on him, so I'll know me not answer him, Dania. I look on him, so.
Yeah, because
he said me if he ever answer him, then probably would have fired me same time.
You lose the work.
But I reported him. And at the time, the clerk of the house, Mrs. Heather Cook, God bless her soul, she said she removed him. He wasn't allowed to come back up to that position until she left Parliament. I saw him back in the media section.
Yeah, because people need to be respectful.
So I've just always been confident, and I feel like people feel like, oh, I'm advocating for the LGBTQ community, but I'm not. I'm just being myself. And it's okay for them to say, hey, Toni is advocating for us, and I don't mind other people looking on and saying, boy, look how she just be herself. I want to do that too. I have no problem with that, but that's not my goal. My community is a deaf community, first and foremost. Okay. But that doesn't mean that, oh, the LGBTQ community, when I deal with them. No, that's not true. I have friends. I am a part of the community, but that's not my goal. Deaf people are always left out, and they're still left out. And that's my goal, advocating for them.
You mentioned they're still left out. Tell me some of the things that you'd want to see happening in our country that would advance the deaf community.
Okay, so one of the things that deaf people have been asking for a lot is access to entertainment. Deaf people party, you know. Deaf people know Alkaline, Vibes Cartel, Massacre, them have sign name.
Them have sign name?
Them have sign name.
Okay.
So if you have a sign name, it simply means that you're spoken about in the community.
Okay.
And one of the things that's lacking is entertainment. They're okay with the fact that we provide services in Parliament. They're not okay with the fact that they turn on the TV and watching news and there's nobody. They're not okay with the fact that when they go to the hospital, there's nobody there who can communicate effectively, which leaves them in a position of deciding whether or not they should go or self-medicate. Because it makes no sense. Nobody can communicate. And then we have deaf people who just die because they felt away and they never went to the hospital or the doctor because there's no access. There's so many things that are lacking, but we're better than we were 20 years ago.
We are.
And I don't want people to take my word, because every time I say this, people say, but it's coming like nothing not going. Things are happening.
Mm-hmm. But more things need to happen.
More things need to happen. Access to higher education. Mm-hmm. If I want to go to university, why am I being stopped? There are no interpreters. And if there are interpreters, you know what the barrier is? I have to pay them. Mm-hmm. They're not paid by the university, which means an interpreter have to, like me, have to say, all right, don't worry about it, and try and find another way to get income to supplement that job.
All right.
Or say to them, say, boy, I can't do it for free. I have to go pay for my transportation or something. Mm-hmm. And that shouldn't be...
on top of the university fees.
On top of the university fees. I had graduates who did computer science, business admin, and they had to pay for university plus interpreting for their entire... And then on top of that, when them graduate, nobody no want to hire them, even though them have the qualifications. So it's a lot that's in it. That's why I say I advocate for my community, the deaf community. They need it. And it's not just Jamaica, it's international. It's just that some countries might appear better because they have laws and policies in place that the deaf person will go to you and demand it, or they will call who needs to be called to say they don't provide this service.
They don't provide the service.
We don't have those policies in place. And that's the issue.
So after 20 years, well, next year is the 20th?
Next year.
What's your next step?
Training.
Tell me.
So I'll be focusing on training interpreters, not just in Jamaica, but the Caribbean. There's actually an event happening at the end of this year in Trinidad, which I'm a speaker at. Mm-hmm. I'll be speaking about the challenges of training and interpreting in the Caribbean and what are the next steps. And I will be facilitating that. I'm hoping, I know that I will get funding because I work with a lot of donor agencies. Mm-hmm. And they're always saying, what's your plan? What's your plan? But because of interpreting and because I had to set a bar, I felt like I had to set a bar and I had to focus on this first before I move on to this. Plus have garnered the experience from this to then do this properly.
Right.
That's my next step. And I have partners in England who will be working with me.
Nice.
Might leave and go sign in England.
No, but you can't go away. We're going to revoke the visa. You're not getting on. I already tell the British Council, don't give it to her. She cannot leave.
But those are the next steps. Training for anybody in the Caribbean and training for anybody who wants to be an interpreter. But you can't just come in as a blank slate. You have to obviously go and do certain levels of basic communication with companies like Ready to Sign. Mm-hmm. And you do the basic communication, and after a certain level, you come to me. And if you're really interested in being an interpreter, carry it to that level. Because the Caribbean needs it. And I can tell you this, I know policies are coming in place to make Jamaican Sign Language an official language.
And I'm so very happy about that. So, you said that the deaf community wants more access to entertainment events. What would that look like? What would a party for deaf people look like?
Listen, man. I want to give you a joke. My parents can dance and I can't dance.
What?
I cannot dance. And I've always been amazed at how talented.
And they stay on the rhythm?
Yes. My mother learned every dance, every ravers dance, every elephant man dance. My mother can do it. And she's very good at it. And she can hear the feeling. It's a vibe. So a lot of times you can see deaf people now with headphones on, but them not hear nothing. It's the vibe. It's the feeling, the vibration, the feeling that they get when they're listening. Some of them can hear too. Mm-hmm. They might not hear the words, but they might hear certain things like the beats, the annotations, probably a one word if it's loud enough, if you're hard of hearing. But like, you have deaf people now walking around with headphones because they want to feel the vibe. And so entertainment, I don't know if you know the Super Bowl.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
A couple years ago, a deaf person by the name of JT on Instagram, that's our Instagram handle, she did Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
You saw how viral that went. That is what deaf people... But you think deaf people don't want to go? Cartel show, Alkaline show, Massacre show, Sumfest. That is a big way for us to make money too. Because you'd have international deaf people flying in to experience a Damian Marley, to experience Asha. They know about our culture.
I feel like Toni and I need to talk because as an entertainment publicist, this feels like something I need to tap into. off air.
And trust me, it would be a big tapping. In the United States, I don't know if you're probably not, you wouldn't see this, but there's a deaf person by the name of Definitely Dope. And he signed at a Rick Ross concert, which is big in the United States. Most concerts have interpreters. And Rick Ross featured him on his page. And it was a big thing. Like everybody, deaf people from all over the world they were like, yo, why not in our country?
Yeah, this
because
is what we want.
We want it too. Them don't just want to hear about
Definitely
PNP, JLP, and
Parliament
and
barely little
man are
news.
dead. And no, you want them depressed, them need little leisure too.
That sounds very good. That sounds like something we really need for the Toni.
We really need to do it.
We really need to talk about it.
We really need to do it.
But now I want you to get to the point with us where if there's somebody who's living on the edge of society, because that's how communities that are not fully immersed because of something that has happened to them or their passion or some life that they have chosen. It may not be something that they're born with. What would you say to that person based on the experience you've had with advocating and being an interpreter for 20 years for the deaf community?
Don't give up. Consistency is key. And if you really have the heart for it, it will happen.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, I can tell you, when I remember, sorry to my friends from high school, but I remember us at the beach one day and they're like, yo, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your life? And I said, I have a plan. It might not seem like it's going to, and my friends are like, yo, better you get a job. It's not going to pay you. Nobody not going to see or believe that this is possible. But I never stopped, no matter the fact that I wasn't making any money in the beginning, the fact that people still owe me to this day.
To this day.
The fact that people would have taken advantage of me. I just thought in those times that, yeah, people are going to see and they're going to recognize the importance of it. And I felt like COVID really made a big shift for that. I felt like there was an emergency. All countries were on lockdown and Jamaica provided access. And when you turned on every other news station, you would have seen interpreters and we were not left out.
And we were not left out.
As a matter of fact, I have texts from deaf people from all over the world saying Jamaica had the best interpreter.
No, but as you talk about best, for people who said that it was not going to work out, I have been working with events that when I call you and if you are unavailable for that particular day and I say to the client, well, Tony's not able for this day, them I move the event because them only want you.
Right.
Like it's just you want them one. So for people who in the beginning they didn't believe, you've shown them that this is actually a viable product, a viable lifestyle and advocacy at the core.
Correct. And that's why I say consistency and just believing in yourself. Don't make people tell you that you can't. That's their lack of confidence. That's their disbelief. You can. I said to people all the time, Jamaica is a country where you have the potential to be your greatest self. Your greatest self. And it's just that you have to believe. And I feel like our people lack belief a lot, lack confidence, belief. And those two things are so important. I remember growing up, my father used to say, you have to remain humble. You have to remain humble. It's a part of me still, you know, that's a kingdom all thing.
Yeah, man.
You have to remain humble.
Humility, modesty.
But the older I get, I realize, no, if you know that, for example, I know, and I will say it on your show, I've never said it before because I always felt weird saying it, but I know I'm one of the best interpreters in the world.
Can you say that one more time?
I know I'm one of the best interpreters in the world, and I'm not just saying it because I want to say it. I've been told. I've been told by myriads. I've been told by deaf people from Bulgaria. Different sign language, by the way. I've been told by deaf people from England, the US. I can think of so many countries, and I used to doubt myself because I used to be like, I'm okay. But I can't do that anymore. I can't remain humble after 20 years. Come on, I'm like expert level, past expert level.
Until you're about to train people now.
Correct.
Nice. And because of the affirmation that you have given to people in the deaf community, I have a stack of affirmation cards that we launched in season 2. It's the Being Broadtail affirmation cards for women. And we have a thing what we do here on the show where you pick one. Anyone, you're not going to look.
Come on, look through first.
No, you're not look through. You're not looking through. And then you are going to read it and let's see if it aligns with something that you've been through, going through, or something you want to get to.
Okay. All right.
Don't look. What does it say?
Yeah, guzum.
Don't guzum nothing.
She guzum.
I didn't even know.
She goes
I did it.
That one, yeah.
You also, I did not.
And I'll say something before I read it. Why this is so funny to me is because I'm now in this phase.
Okay.
Right?
I don't even know which one you have in your hand.
I cherish my body. No body, no life. It is really that simple. So yeah, I'll make...
Tell me about this, where you're in your life where that card is concerned.
Because I've always had a problem with my body. You know, I've always been on the bigger side. And that comes from, again, deaf people.
Your heart,
Toni, the fat, you go dead and we don't want you dead.
Yeah, you go
exercise, eat vegetable, and don't eat no fried food. And so I've been at a place, my partner now would say, because I'm always in and out of the gym. So I will gain weight and lose weight. But that don't have nothing to do with food. It's more like, personal imbalance and stuff.
Right.
And I always be upset when I gain the weight, not realizing that I have no control over it. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. And so I'm with somebody now who would then say to me, but you're perfect. Mm-hmm. Your body is perfect. Like, why you have a problem? I can't see what you're saying. And that has put me in a place to realize that I might not have abs.
One ab, you have one.
A keg.
But I have one too.
But at the end of the day, my body is perfect.
Yes.
And it sustains me.
Yes. It carries you around. It allows you to sign. It allows you to make an income. It allows to make your friends and your family and your partner happy.
Correct.
This body.
This same body.
The same
what
one.
I never used to like. I love it now, okay. Man. I'm telling a lie. That's why I say you go zoom.
Me don't go zoom, but I'm happy that it worked. And we also have gifts for you, Toni. So our friends at CPJ, they gave us this fabulous tote bag.
Well,
I know you like your spirits, So, just like me, Grey Goose Essences, so you have a bottle right in there for you.
Well,
you also have a tumbler and some other merch from Grey Goose, but you have your affirmation cards from Being Broadtail, and you also, for the nice supple skin, you have a gift certificate from Morgan's Creek, okay?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man, you have gifts.
I love this.
You're good. The best interpreter, one of the best in the world.
Thank you, Grey Goose. Thank you, Dania. Thank you, Bean. Broadtail.
And because I want you to thrive in the segment of your life that you get into with training, this is Mazizi plant and it's of East African origin, and them say are the money tree.
Oh,
yes,
so I'm gonna take care of it. Come on, want it. Oh, just yeah, give me our just touch.
No, you have to just touch it. Me not give you busy. What? No, so touch it up.
More touch.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. And another thing that I love to do, I don't know if you like to do it, but I love to pose, and when I do so, I feel confident.
I know. I see you all the time. I'm like, watch Dana.
Same so. And so, because you now love this body that you are in, we are going to do our confidence pose for our viewers, and them can tell we, well, me know some mega win, because Toni can't beat me in this.
No,
like
for
she can beat, she have to go sign for beat me in this. She have to go sign for beat me in this. So we're going to do our pose off, okay?
Okay.
Miss Cupid, hello, you fire bow and arrow. I feel it all bow, back to my elbow, I'm too late. Hello,
In true Toni form, she signed the entire show and I loved it. Thank you for representing the deaf community like you do every day and for ensuring that through your work, they do not feel like they're not immersed in this society.
And just like that, it's a wrap on season 3 of Being Broadtail. Thank you so much for sticking with us for the past 8 weeks for the conversations we had with 8 dynamic women. Don't you worry, we've already started to plan season 4 of Being Broadtail, and I know that you're going to be loving the guests that we're featuring. We want to thank all our sponsors also for staying with us and for believing in our dreams. Don't forget to get your Being Broadtail Confidence Journal at Morgan's Creek or on Amazon. Until then, bye.
Being Broadtail is brought to you by CPJ, distributors of Grey Goose Essences, the Harry J Recording Studio, Broad Axe Communications, 1010 Events and Rentals, and Morgan's Creek.